Welcome to School of Seeds, a podcast based in Beacon and inspired by the Hudson Valley. We talk about gardening tips, nature information, and outdoor adventures. Visit schoolofseeds.com to learn more. New York's weather is unusual. Spring officially begins in late March, but if you were to step outside at that time, it wouldn't look or feel like it. In fact, cold weather has pushed forward the date of the last frost until May 6th or so for years. You might even remember that time when it snowed in June years ago. Waiting until the second week of May to start planting or moving plants outside seems to be the new norm. Thankfully, our vegetable seed packs remind us that spring hasn't completely escaped us. In the Hudson Valley, we are mostly in hardiness zones 5A to 6A, depending on your location. In these zones, vegetables are typically planted from March to June, so we still have the last 2 weeks of spring to plant outdoors. Still, climate change may continue to shorten the season over time. Gardeners are great at adapting, though. Many have already started their vegetables indoors. Others are building greenhouses to protect them. If you haven't started your seeds yet, it's not too late. Here are 7 classic vegetables for spring and what they need to thrive. By the way, all of these vegetables like 6 to 8 hours of full sun. They also need about 1 to 2 inches of water per week and love organic matter like compost. But their soil also needs good drainage and a loose texture. Remember that these numbers could vary depending on the variety of the vegetables you're planting. First, we have tomatoes, sun-loving plants. When you plant your tomato seeds, they should be 1/2 inch apart. Once they become about 3 inches high, they should be thinned to be 3 feet apart. It takes about 55 to 60 days to get your tomato harvest. Next, we have peas, which also need full sun, but everything in moderation. Too much sun can burn your peas, so be sure to protect them. When planting your pea seeds, they should be 2 inches apart. If you plant them this far apart, then you won't have to worry about thinning later. The harvest time for your peas is about 60 days. The next vegetable on our list is carrots. Now, while they do like full sun for 6 to 8 hours, some gardeners claim something interesting. They believe that partial sun can actually help you get bigger carrots, because if carrots get too much sun, this might encourage the foliage to grow far more than the root of the carrots. When planting your carrot seeds, place them 1/2 inch apart. Then, thin them to 2 to 3 inches apart in rows that are 12 to 24 inches apart, depending on the variety. The harvest time for your carrots is about 65 to 70 days. The next vegetable is onions, which are known as being easy to grow. They also love full sun, but similar to what some gardeners suspect about carrots, having onions in partial sun may actually help them grow the bulb far more than the foliage. When planting your onions, place them 1 to 2 inches apart. Thin them to 3 inches apart when they are 1 to 2 inches high in rows that are 12 to 15 inches apart. The harvest time for your onions is about 60 to 100 days. The next vegetable on our list is broccoli. Broccoli also likes full sun, but similar to carrots and onions, if the sunlight is too intense, it could harm its productivity. And so, if there's a lot of intense sun in your yard, you might want to experiment with using more partial sunlight and seeing how that affects your broccoli's growth. When planting your broccoli seeds, place them 2 inches apart. When they are 4 to 6 inches high, thin them to 2 feet apart. The harvest time for your broccoli is about 70 days. The next vegetable on our list is radish. Radish also loves full sun, but some gardeners claim that shade extends its growing season. Another interesting thing to experiment with. When planting your radish seeds, place them 1/2 inch apart, and then thin them to being 2 inches apart. The harvest time for your radishes is about 21 to 25 days. The last vegetable on our list is peppers, and they are sun-loving plants. When planting your pepper seeds, place them 1/2 inch apart. When they're more mature, space them 18 inches apart or place them into separate containers. The harvest time for your peppers is about 65 to 85 days. For best results, wait until the last frost has passed before planting your vegetables outdoors. If you are starting them indoors first, transplant them outside when it's safe to do so, but remember to harden off your plants first. You can do this by placing your plant outside for short periods of time, slowly increasing their time outdoors until, after 1 to 2 weeks, they are outside all day. This will help them adapt to their new outdoor environment. So, you have some ideas about what to grow now. But how do you improve your chances of a bigger harvest? I mentioned that using compost as fertilizer is a great choice. But that's just the beginning. Adding phosphorus and potassium to the soil can also help plants produce fruit, like tomatoes. And yes, tomatoes are fruits according to botany, which is plant science. A quick side note about that, because a lot of people get confused. Botanists, which are plant scientists, call tomatoes fruits. Nutritionists call tomatoes vegetables. That's why you might have heard of some vegetables also being called fruits. The difference in terminology comes from professionals that work with plants in different fields. Back to growing vegetables, or should I say, fruits, a balance of nutrients is key. Nitrogen, which is essential for good plant health, can become toxic to your plants if you give them too much. If a tomato plant has a nitrogen overdose, it will produce lots of foliage and branches, but very few or no tomatoes. And then there's air circulation, which is helpful during early spring when cold weather causes water to sit in your soil for longer periods of time, which can lead to moisture buildup and root rot. Plus, it also helps during the summer, when the intense heat and humidity is more likely to heat up the soil and cook your plants from the root up. So, try to add some aeration to your garden. It's a technique where you put holes in your soil. Not only does it help protect plants from root rot, but it reduces soil compaction and increases airflow to the roots. Time is ticking, so start planting those seeds soon, and good luck in the garden. If you want to get better at planning your garden and you'd like to support this podcast, consider supporting us on Patreon. When you become a member, you gain access to digital rewards that are exclusive to our community, including our garden planning guide. It's a great source of information, whether you've grown plants before or it's your first time trying them out. Our Patreon members also get other perks, like our Succulents for Beginners guide, a list of 70-plus native New York flowers, access to our Patreon community, and more. Thank you for joining us in this episode. If you'd like to hear more, subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell icon to receive notifications from us. And remember, everything starts small.